our spawn grain jars or bags fully colonized, and they should look like this, fully white. And you now are going to transfer them into the substrate, which I'll show you in a minute. The first thing you need to do though is break this up. Break up your spawn grain. So if you have a jar, and it's in chunks and pieces, you need to go through and break it. Put it in the bag first and break it up. That way you're not handling it that much, and it's inside a sterile bag. So this, you just break it up like this. Get all those chunks out. And then the spawn party is going to start again once we break it all up. So it's going to try to colonize what's in the bag. So we're going to mix it with some substrate. And this substrate this is an oyster mushroom that I'm breaking up. The substrate for oyster mushroom, we have 4 parts wood pellets, oak wood pellet, and we have 1 part vermiculite with a big heaping teaspoon or big heaping cup of gypsum in there, and I also put some calcium hydroxide in there to help with the pH. Okay, so once you get this all broken up, it's just about there. And we're going to fill this bag with substrate and our straw. Remember the straw that we had in the last video? Or we pasteurized it, cold pasteurized it by itself? Well, now we're going to add that back into here. So, and I just froze this straw so it would stay moist. So we're going to add the straw back in. We don't need that much. A couple of cups of straw. And then we're going to add substrate. So this is my wood chips. The cheese is plenty moist. Okay, here we go. I'm going to put a good amount in there. I'm just trying not to spill all this dirt all over the place. Which I'm doing. Okay, that's about enough. So we got our spawn grain on the bottom. You can see this. Our straw right there in the middle. And this is our substrate. So what we're going to do next is we're going to seal this bag. And then we're going to break it up and mix it again. So we're going to get most all the air out. You want to leave some air in. Okay, let me go get my impulse sealer and I'll be right back. Okay, we got our sealer. Right before you seal it up, you want to mist the inside of your bag with a fine mister. Just kind of get it all, get a nice wet mist in there with some moisturizer. My substrate was a little dry. You probably don't need to do that if your substrate's really wet. Okay. Now we're going to close it. using the impulse sealer. You can see this. Okay. Okay, that away. Okay, now that our bag is sealed, got a nice thick seal up here, we're gonna mix this up. We're gonna mix the substrate. We're just gonna knead it like dough. Get all the substrate, all the grain substrate down into the what you're planting it into. So it's gonna take a little bit of mixing here. We get that straw mixed up in there. Alright. That really helped me on station. Fuck. I can put that down and off you go. There, I'd rather have silence. Alright. Okay. And that's all you do once it's thoroughly mixed. I think that's probably good. Okay, now it's gonna fruit like that. So you're just gonna keep it, you're not gonna break and shake again. You only do that when you're transferring. And you just leave it like this. Temperatures can go from 72 to 76 in the fruiting phase, but you're first of all going to be in the vegetative stage, which is when the mycelium that we just put in there is going to colonize this substrate and it's going to turn white. Then we're going to start seeing little pins of oyster mushrooms coming up. At that point, we open the bag up and give it some air, fresh air. If you're growing in a Martha Tech, you don't need the bags closed. I just keep them closed for sterility purposes. But I'm in a pretty clean room right now. I've just sterilized this room like a couple days ago, running HEPA filters in it right now. But everything, as you see, has got the lids on it. So it's vegetating and it's all turning white. So I'm going to show you how to do a chestnut mushroom. The substrate's a little different, but the principle is the same. You just want to mix all that grain up in here and let it get colonized. And break up any nuts you got. That's good. Okay, so we're going to do some chestnut mushrooms next. This is the oysters. Okay, now we're going to do some chestnut mushrooms. This is a jar that I spun, and it's ready to go. So now I just need to take the spawn out of the jar. And for that, I use like a butter knife. I clean it off really well with some alcohol. Just make sure there's no remnants from the last oyster mushroom on there. Okay. So you take your knife and you just kind of dig out the spawn. It should be fairly soft still. If you let this, if you let your spawn grain go for 3 weeks or more, you're going to get a much harder block, but it's easier to work with this way. Okay, and then take out almost all of it, like leave 1/4 of the jar in there. Now I have another Spawn to Bulk video. It's called the Spawn to Bulk tech that gets you a full canopy almost every time. That one I use for the CVG that I do, and I do that usually with my spiritual mushrooms. Although there are other kinds that can be grown in them. Even these chestnuts could. This chestnut, break it up. And then I'm going to put some soil in there, some substrate. This is wood pellet chips. This is the same as the oyster except without the straw, and I added wheat bran. I added about half a liter of wheat bran to this mixture. And this has been fully pasteurized. Okay. And you mix this around. Mix that up really well. And it should always smell like fresh, earthy mushrooms. Like, that pungent smell you get with mushrooms. When you open your jars up, it should always smell like that mushroom smell. Okay. Chestnuts like to come up in clusters. So I imagine I wanted to do a tub so I could get several clusters out of this. Hopefully. Well. And then just kind of even it out some. And once you pack it down, just gently pat it down. Like I said, this is the same tech as my other video, only in that video I'm doing CVG. And then you put the rest of your spawn onto this. Get the rest of it out of the jar. that good enough? Okay, and then what you want to do with the top layer is you want to get it kind of spread out all over the surface. So we're going to put another layer of substrate over this in a second. But spread this out so it's all over the surface. Okay, pat this layer down flat too. Okay, and then you're going to put a casing layer. This is a pseudo casing. So you just use the same substrate you just planted your mushrooms in, your mushroom grain spawn. And you put a light layer like this over the top and just cover all the grain, but it's going to be loose, so don't pack this last layer down. And once you get this covered, we're going to give it a light spray. It's almost covered. You just want to cover all of the exposed grain. Make sure it's covered with like 1/4 to 1/2 inch of casing layer. But it's loosely on there. So I'm letting it just fall onto the substrate. That's how you want to leave it. You don't want to pack this last layer down. Okay. So it looks like that. Now I'm just going to wipe the sides down. All the dirt off the sides so it doesn't look so messy when I put the mist in there. And then you mist her down. Mist the tub walls. Give it a nice good mist. And then give the lid even a mist. So you get little water droplets all over, and that's what the condensation is going to stay. Right there, once this tub heats up and the water's had a chance to evaporate. It's going to look like this with lots of condensation on this tub walls. Okay. That's it. And then you would just label this tub what it is. I'm sure you'll find out when it comes up what it is if you're growing different kind of mushrooms. Trying to find one. Okay. Anyway, that's the chestnut mushrooms. So if you have any other type of mushrooms and you need to do the CVG, just look up my other video on this YouTube channel. The spawn to bulk transfer tech that gets a full canopy flush almost every time, and it does. You have to use a certain amount of spawn grain in that video. It's a 1-to-1 mixture. But so that's it for chestnut mushrooms. Now we're just gonna let this vegetate, and it's gonna sit for about 10 days to 2 weeks, 10 to 14 days. This is going to colonize, and it's going to turn in to all white carpet of mycelium. And then at about 14 days, we're going to start introducing air by opening the top and giving it a little fan like that. And you do that like once a day until you see pins, because you want to keep it still high in carbon dioxide when it's pinning. Once you see the pins, you want to pour on the fresh air and air them out about 4 or 5 times a day. You want to do this and get fresh air into the tub. So that's how the fruiting process works. It's going to fruit in this tub in about 10 to 14 days. Some take a little longer, some take a little less. It all depends on your genetics and what species of mushroom you're growing. But that's about it. That's the last phase, the fruiting phase. So we're gonna come back 1 more week from now. We're gonna see where we are. We're gonna look at everybody's tubs and judge if they're doing okay, if there's any contamination problems or questions. I'll address that. I have a Zoom meeting this Wednesday scheduled. If you have any questions about this process, sign on to that. Wednesdays at 7 p.m. And that's it for me. This is Trip, and I'm out.